All right, we are in section 7.7 where we are going to take a look at simple and compound interest. So when you invest money um, or go to a bank to invest for you, um, often there are two types of interest that get calculated for the money that you invest, whether that's a savings account, whether that's like mutual bonds, etc. Uh, the interest is the extra amounts that you gain from the investment. You get a percentage of the investment. So, some of the vocab terms that we take a look at that are going to help us figure out what, first off, what kind of an interest it happens to be, whether it's simple or compound, and what you have to kind of look for when you were trying to solve these problems. So, first off, looking at the first term here is the principal. The principal is the original amount that you invested. Okay, so you're just like, if you put, this amount of money into the savings account to start with, if you put this amount of money into, stocks, bonds, stuff like that, that's your original investment. That's your principal. And then the next thing is we're going to look at is the annual interest rate. That's percentage. So remember that it's percent of the principal earned or paid per year. Okay. So the thing that you have to keep in mind when it talks about time, time is going to be in years. So so if you look at things when they talk about months, you have to convert it with respect to years. So if you're looking at 6 months, that's a half a year. Okay. So the first thing we're going to look at is simple interest. All right. So simple interest is a formula where it can be calculated by multiplying P times R times T. And P stands for the principal, your original investment. Uh, the interest rate is always going to be a percent, which remember that you have to convert it to a decimal in order to solve it. And the time, again, is calculated in years. Okay, so looking at this first problem here, it says find the simple interest earned on $500 after 5 years in a money market uh, account paying 5%. So we look at this, we got P, we got R, we got T. So the principal, the initial investment was $500, so I got 500 here. All right. The rate was 5%, but remember that you have to convert it to a decimal. So 5% is 0.05, and then the time in years, which was 5 years. Multiply all that out, and you would get $125. So that's how much interest you earned from that initial investment of 500 bucks. So now we know the amount that we gain from the interest is principal times rate times time. Now to figure out how much the balance is, all we got to do is just add on what your initial investment. So it's going to be principal plus what you made in the interest, and that's what's going to be in your account. So this stands, A stands for what is in your account currently. Okay, so looking at problems like that, here it says um, Jose deposits $2,000 of his tax refund into an account that earns simple annual interest. After 6 months, what will the balance be if the interest rate is 4%? So the balance means they're looking at the account, how much is in the account, including uh, the investment of the $2,000. So this is the situation where you're looking at A equals P plus PRT. So A here is going to be equal to 2,000 because that's your principal plus P is still 2,000 times it by the rate, which is 0.04 because it's 4%, and t in time in with respect to years is going to be zero point 0.5 because 6 months is half a year. So multiply these out. So I got 2,000 here plus 2,000 times it by 0.04 times it by zero point 0.5 is 40 bucks, which means that you will have $2,040 in that account. Okay. So here it says suppose you deposit $800 into an account that earns simple annual interest. After 2 years, the account balance is $900. They want you to find the interest rate. So when they're asking you to find the annual interest rate, you are trying to find R with respect to the PRT. So um, since they say the account balance here, so we're using this formula, A equals P plus PRT. So what we know is we know the account balance needs to be $900. So I put 900 here. We know that the initial investment was 800, so I put 800 here. Plus 800 is still the principal. I don't know what the rate is, so I'm just going to leave that as R. And then T for time was 2 years, so I put 2 there. Okay. So to look at this, I'm going to say this is 900 is equal to 800 plus 1600 R. Okay. So we can do some algebra here. So I'm going to subtract 800 to both sides. This turns into 100 equals 1600 R. And when I divide 1600 to both sides, I get a decimal of 0.0625. But remember, they want the percent. So to write this as a percent, you move the decimal place 1 unit, 2 units to the right, and it would be 6.25%. That's what the interest would have to be for all of that to be correct. Okay, so some other things still looking at here. It says $1,000 bond earns 6% simple annual interest. What is the interest earned after 4 years? So it doesn't ask for the account, so it's just looking for how much interest is earned. So this is where we use the PRT formula. So we got 1,000 for the principal. We have 6%, so it's 0.06, and the time is 4 years. When you multiply all that out, you get $240. All right, there may be some situations where they just give you the value of P, the value of R, value of T, and then it says find the balance. All right, so find the balance, that means it's the account balance, so that's using the A equals P plus PRT format. So I go here, this is 500 plus 500 times it by 0.07 times it by 5 years. So I get 500 here plus I multiply 500 times 0.05 or zero point 0.07 times 5, you get $175, and that gives you a total cost of $675. All right, in this particular situation, number 3, they give you the account balance, they give you the interest rate, they tell you the time, but they want to know how much you actually invested in. So to place this one in, you're using the A equals P plus PRT. Well, they tell you that 1424.50 is what's in the account. We don't know what the principal is or how much you invested in, so it's going to be written something like this. So 0.035 is the decimal of 3.5%. 0.5 is the time because we're not um, got to deal with it with respect to years. So I got here 14, 24, 50 is going to be equal to, this is going to be x plus, now zero point 0.5 times it by 0.035 is 0.0175, and I still have that x. Okay, now these here are like terms. You got to pretend that this is a 1. And so 1 plus 0.0175 is actually going to be 1.0175. And then you attach the x because you have the like terms. And that's going to be equal to 142450. Final step is divide both sides by the 1.0175, 1.0175. And when you divide those out, you get hold on a sec. You get $1,400. Okay. So now we're going to look at compound interest. It says compound interest is an interest that is earned on both the principal and any interest that has been earned previously. So I'm going to just kind of show you um, the difference between simple annual interest and compound interest. If you look at the bottom here, compound interest is formulated like so. There is no uh, way you can just figure out how much you earned in interest. You only figure out what's in the account. Okay, so every time you use the formula, you are figuring out what's in the account at that time. All right, so looking at this, remembering that simple annual interest is going to be A equals P plus PRT, which we've done previously. And on the compound interest side, it's going to be A equals P times by 1 plus the rate raised to the T power. Okay, so if we look at that, let's do all of the simple annual interest. So for 1 year, I got 1,000 plus 1,000 times by 0.05 times by 1. So I multiply this out, I get 1,050. Okay. All right. So if I go to the compound interest, I go over here and I get 1,000 times by the quantity of 1 plus 0.05, and it's raised to the first power because it's 1 year. All right, 1 plus 0.5 is 1.05. Raise it to the first power, it's the same thing. Times that by 1,000, you still get 1,050. Okay, so it didn't matter if it was simple annual interest or if it was compound annual interest, you got the same amount in your bank. Okay, let's see if it makes a difference in year 2. So now I got 1,000 plus 1,000 times by 0.05, and it's times by 2. I multiply that out, I get $1,100. Now, if I go to the compound interest, I get 1,000 times it by 1 plus 0.05 raised to the second power. So if I go 1.05 when I add them together and I square it, I get 1.1025. All right, so it's 1.1025, and then that gets multiplied by 1,000. And when I do that, I get $1,102.50. Okay, so a little bit more money is in your account with the compound annual interest after 2 years. So let's see if after 3, so I get 1,000 plus 1,000 times it by 0.05 times it by 3. Simple annual interest, you multiply that out, you should get $1,150. For the compound, you get 1,000 times by 1 plus 0.5. Now it's raised to the third power. So 1.05 raised to the third power is 1.157625 times that by 1,000, and now you get $1,157, and it rounds up to 63 cents. So again, you got even more money in that third year. So it is it's better to have compound interest, especially as you start going over time throughout, the course of different years. So I look here, and now it says you deposit $1,200 into an account that earns 3.8% interest compounded annually. So compounded annually means now we're going to be using compound interest, and they want you to find the balance after 5 years. So using this formula right here, I got A is equal to $1,200, which is our original investment, times it by the quantity of 1 plus 0.038, because that's what it's written as a decimal, and it's going to be raised to the fifth power. Okay, so I add 1 plus 0.038, which is 1.038. I want to raise that to the fifth power. When I get that, I get what is what 1.204999222.5. So I'm going to multiply that to 1200, and when I do that, I get a total of 1,445.999. So if I rounded this, this would be really, really close to 1446. Okay. All right, and looking at one more example, it says you deposit $700 into a savings account that earns 2% interest compounded annually. Find the balance after 4 years, and they want you to round it to the nearest cent. Okay, so kind of makes sense to do that. So compounded, so it's gonna be 700 times by the quantity of 1 plus 0.02, and it's gonna be raised to the fourth power because it's in years of 4. So 1.02 raised to the fourth power is about 1.08243216. Times that by 700, I got 757.7025, and you round it to the nearest cent, so it's going to be 757.70. So $757.70. And that is being able to solve problems using simple and compound interest. Hope this helps. Until next time.